Hello all, very good morning. Thanks for joining the session. Let me share my screen. So just a quick recap, like what we have done yesterday and what we are trying to do actually. So just a quick recap. So yesterday we created one project of packaging type var, right? And in that project, we have written, of course, we have taken the dependencies, Spring dependencies. We are now building a Spring native application, right? Traditional Spring application we are now building, and then finding out the efforts that we are putting, being a developer, how much effort we need to put in order to develop a simple hello world traditional web application. So that is what we are now trying to understand. And later on time, we'll compare this with the Spring Boot application development. And then let us start deriving, the differences or the Spring Boot, how it has been eliminated the issues associated with this traditional web application development. So likewise, we will start understanding about the Spring Boot. Okay, so as part of our implementation, yesterday we were started. Class notes is already uploaded. Class notes is already uploaded. If you can go here, all the class notes, meaning running class notes is not uploaded, but class handouts were uploaded. Day two, meaning all the handouts were uploaded. So whatever the handouts I will follow, so those are already uploaded here. You can go and then see this. Of course, these are the handouts only we will follow, because a step-by-step guides I have prepared. So you also use these step-by-step guides with the enough theory discussion. I have prepared the handouts. You just go and then follow these handouts on day-to-day basis as per the session is happening. Okay, yeah.
Spring core material is not uploaded, sir.
Spring core material is not yet uploaded. That I will upload actually. I'll upload, but the rest of it I'll upload it actually. Okay. Even Spring Cloud material is also not uploaded. I will upload the Spring Cloud material. Both I will upload at a time. Okay, yeah, let us continue. So yesterday we started, please carefully observe, because once we started the Spring Boot, there were a lot of interesting factors, important things we need to discuss. A lot of interesting things, right? Mainly the how Spring Boot is making a developer life is easy. That point we need to first observe. Meaning we need to get the understanding of it. How what is the concept of the making everything or development easier with the Spring Boot. So that we need to understand. However, let's now go and then start understanding what we did yesterday quickly. So we have created a traditional web application there where we have written a simple hello world controller, and then also we have taken a simple JSP page. So this is what we have done yesterday. And this controller and then this JSP page, the JSP page is taking the data, right? This is what actually the session-based applications, right? So Spring Web MVC is what a session-based applications. First session will be created, and then in that session, the user interactions with the applications will be made. Before that, what will happen? It also maintains the in memory. It also maintains the in memory. We're also saying it as a session, right? Session data. So it's not exactly the cache, but it is session data. It is maintaining obviously. So what will happen actually? Whatever the data that it have per request. So that data, I mean, this controller will keeps the data in some session. So this is where the session storage. So this is the session storage. Now the JSP pages what we have written yesterday, these JSP pages needs to get the data from this session storage. These view pages need to get the data from this session storage. So let me give this diagram like this. Perfect. Okay, but every request that the users are giving to the application need to be taken by a front controller called dispatcher servlet. And also the application while running inside the Tomcat, so we were used annotations like @controller here, if you did remember, @controller, @request mapping, such an annotations we have used. That means what, such an annotations we have used. So that means what, those, the controller, service, DAO, these needs to be identified as a Spring Bean. Sorry, yes. So controller, service, DAO, these needs to be identified as a Spring Bean, detect as a Spring Bean. So while application is bootstrapping, the whatever the annotations we were used here @controller, @service, of course going forward we will use. So these components needs to be identified and as create as a Spring Bean during the application startup. Any issues? I didn't understand. Please make me to continue to the session. Once after the session continue, then I can read your questions, please. Huh? Because while you are asking the questions, I'm not able to concentrate. I mean, both the things at a time. Please allow me to complete the plan what I did for, and then definitely I'll answer your questions. Most of the questions are related to only the upload videos you are asking. Yes, definitely. I already have given reply, right? So I'll make sure the videos will be available by today, and videos are not downloadable. Videos are only viewable. Material can be downloadable. Okay, right. Fine. So videos are not viewable. They are only, sorry, videos are not downloadable. They are only viewable, but material is downloadable. You can download the material. However, please let me continue. So the controller, the service, this DAO, right? And in fact, these pages. So these are all needs to be identified during the application startup itself only. So that is the reason for that we need to write one configuration class as well. We need to write one configuration class as well, right? We know in Spring, right? The app configuration class we have written, which is annotated with @configuration, isn't it? That will do what? That will detect the beans, actually Spring Beans. It will do a component scan and then will detect the Spring Bean. So such an app configuration class now we need to write actually. So let me take such an app configuration class as probably this is, I will take it as a app configuration class. So this is the such configuration class. So now what we need to do? We have written yesterday controller and we have written yesterday this JSP. But this controller, JSP, entire application, first of all, this controller, JSPs, of course, JSPs loading mechanism, identification of the JSPs and other components, if any, in the application, these needs to be detected as a Spring Bean and also to be instantiated as Spring Bean, isn't it? For that, these components needs to be either scanned or these components needs to be exposed as a Spring Bean definition using @bean annotation. But either of the components scan, either of the bean definition, that we will expose from the configuration class. So mandatorily now we need to prepare one configuration class, isn't it? That is for the entire WebMVC application, we will use this configuration class. And next, traffic controller is also required, which will takes the incoming request and mapping with the underlying handlers. So we used to call this controllers as handlers. Actually, handlers is the correct word to call these controllers, but okay, we are using controllers as well because that is component in the controller layer. So this is what actually the entire architecture. Why we are saying it as an entire architecture? In entire architecture, what the entire architecture is saying about, if an application contains one or more layers or tiers. So if an application contains one or more layers or tiers arranged one above the other, then we called it as entire architecture. Entire architecture. So here there are controller layer, service layer, DAO layer, right? And many layers will become in place. So all these rails arranged one above the other. Meaning, for example, DAO. On top of DAO, service is there. On top of service, controller is there. Right? Similarly, there are other layers or tiers will also come. So that is the reason this is said to be an entire architecture. But the flow we are using MVC2 architectural model flow we are using. So as part of that MVC2, the controller logic and then view logic, both should be separated, not clubbed together. So controller logic here and then view logic here, we were separated both. And also controller logic, data saving or data persistency logic should be also separated. So that is what we did. And database will be installed somewhere else.
Hello, sir. Hello. Hello.
Yes. Go ahead.
The controller to servicing to DAO to bean to view, and again we come to controller, no, sir. But where is bean?
Bean, okay. Bean is what? A data binding component. So let me take a bean binding simple Java class, a data binding component. We can take it as here. So here is the bean. So the data which we will submit, right? Meaning from the form or somewhere, whatever the data we will submit, that will bind to this bean. And in service, that bean will be converted to an entity. Whatever the bean we have taken, that definitely needs to convert to an entity. So here is the entity. Where this entity will be? This entity will be inside this service. So we can say like this. This is entity and this is bean. Okay, so bean to entity conversion will be happened in this service layer, and these entities will be used by the DAO, and these entities will be persist into the database. Correct, because entities are the models for the database. Entities are the definition of the database, basically, right? How the database is sent. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, third tier architecture or was second tier?
What is that? This is
entire. Okay.
Entire.
Third tier. Yeah,
Correct.
how three tier architectures are there, no? That's why.
Yeah, this is entire because many more tiers will come. Just I have drafted only 3, but many more will come. Many more. We will follow. There are various approaches actually. Package by layer, package by feature. So we will follow actually the package by feature. We should have to follow for the microservices implementation, but package by layer we will follow it. I will explain all those concepts coming up sessions. Okay. Now what we need to do? So we have completed this part, and then the data from the controller we are putting into the model. right? Model nothing but a session data. Of course, per request, the data will be dumped to here. And then the data will be taken by this or printed onto this JSPs. However, this part we have done. Now we need to work on this configuration and then dispatcher servlet configuration. Dispatcher servlet we need to write, meaning dispatcher servlet configuration we need to write, and then the app configuration or web app configuration or Hibernate configuration class. So that also we need to write so that it will boot while application is bootstrapping. It will load all the components, meaning it will load all the classes as a Spring Beans, so that it will load all the classes as a component, meaning Java beans it will load, and then while the application context is created, the Java beans will be created as a Spring Beans, right? First of all, these all needs to be detect as a Java beans, meaning Java beans will be detected to create them as a Spring Beans eligible. So they need to first eligible. So meaning the Java configuration class what we're gonna write now needs to be identify the eligible candidates based on either components con or based on either other approach. Of course, at the rate being definition, but the eligible candidates needs to find out by this configuration class. And this configuration class will be read by the application context while the application is bootstrapping, and thus it will create the Spring Beans for these Java beans. So whatever we have written, controller, service, DAO, we were annotated with the, we will annotate them with the Spring annotations, right? So those will be detected as a right candidates for creating the Spring Bean. However, those details going forward also we can discuss, but right now let me create these two pending classes. One is the Java configuration, second one is the dispatcher servlet. So in dispatcher servlet, what is the dispatcher servlet? In a Spring Web MVC, we must configure the servlet mapping to direct all the HTTP requests to a single front servlet, right? So all the requests, whatever are coming from here to the application, all needs to be first taken by the front gate or front controller called the dispatcher servlet, right? The front servlet mapping is a design pattern where all requests for a particular web application are directed to the same servlet. So this pattern is called as a front controller pattern, of course. So whatever the requests are coming here, that will be again mapped back to a appropriate handler. So this mapping behavior again have a lot of discussion needs to be do here. How the dispatcher servlet will locate and find out a particular handler class or controller class based on the request mapping. These are all we will discuss going forward. Okay, but right now let me configure this one. So we are now trying to understanding the effort that we are putting in traditional web application development and the effort calculation that it will take while implementing the same application using the Spring Boot. That is the differences derivation we are now trying to do. However, now let me try to go and then create this dispatcher servlet. Sir, what is dispatcher? We don't know. Don't worry, I will explain what is the dispatcher class and all going forward. Okay, so first of all, let us configure this configuration class. Okay, let us write this configuration class. For time being, okay, for time being, I don't write this class. Of course, it is good if I can write, but for time being, okay, otherwise I will copy for a time being. I'll copy and then directly use it for time being. Okay, so of course I can write it, but so it will take little time or typing and all. So let me copy it. Just my interest is to showcase you the difference or the effort involved in the Spring Boot development and then traditional web application development. So that is the reason I'm just directly copying here. Okay. So one thing is what I need to change this component scan here. Our package is com.vshopify.ecom. So this is what let us give. Okay, fine. Now we have given an annotation at the rate configuration. Most of us we know, and at the rate enable web MVC for enabling and @component scan. We know it, this annotation only the new annotation for you, most of you guys probably who have attended Spring Core. So this @enable WebMVC is just for enable the WebMVC web application context, WebMVC. MVC infrastructure needs to be enabled. So for that we will use here. So about this we'll discuss more when we start our project. So did you remember, as part of this session, our way of implementation is first we're gonna start a project using what actually time leaf and then Spring Boot, and on that project we will understand everything, meaning all the Spring Boot concepts like security, transactions, profile management, actuators, production grade and then production ready features, all we will implement on top of this application. What we gonna implement, all the Spring Boot concepts, features, all we will learn on top of on this application. Later in time, what will happen, this application following this architecture, right? Spring WebMVC it is following. So later in time, we will break down this application into the service-oriented architecture. We'll break down this MVC2 architecture into the, of course, MVC2 only, but we'll break down this into a service-oriented architecture. And later we will slowly break down into a microservices architecture. And to manage the microservices, let us use a Spring Cloud. So that is the plan, right? Step-by-step approach that we will follow. However, now if we can go here, the application, when we will implement this, we need to discuss a lot of things, internals about the dispatcher servlet, internals about this enable WebMVC. These are all the things we need to discuss. Of course, at that moment, let us discuss. Okay, dispatcher servlet and the WebMVC, this is we will use Spring Boot, right? While using the Spring Boot, okay, I'll come to this point, but a discussion is definitely required. I'll plan for that at the time of starting that. Okay, however, where is our view pages? Our view pages are in a folder called, yesterday we have created, did you remember, deployment. By default, for a Maven project, you don't see this web app application, web app folder. Then what we did, we have right clicked on our application and then click on this Java EE tools and then run, generate deployment descriptor stub. This is what we have done. And this web app is created then. And web.xml also we got, but we deleted it. So our view pages are in the folder called views. So let us go here. Let us change. Where is our pages? Our pages in the views folder. So this is the views package where the, of course, we can say folder only. So where we have the views folder and there the JSPs are there. So the prefix of this, if you can see here in the home controller, we are just returning the name of the view. And here in the web application context, there is a component called internal resource view resolver. What this guy is doing, he's following the JSTL view because we are following the JSTL in our JSP series. We are following the JSTL to render the data. Of course, this is not required at this moment to render. By default, this SPEL, Spring Expression Language, will also render the data. But in future and time, if you want to use JSTL, you can use this view class called JSTL view.class. However, the view page is in the WebInf views, and then the suffix of that views are the .jsp. So when we give the name like welcome, then our dispatcher servlet will constitute or construct the welcome.jsp and locate it exactly where it is, and then it will render to the users. It will be rendered to these users. But however, let us discuss this flow and all. But first, we'll try to write these things actually. So this configuration class we were written and then given the component scan. And of course, it is a configuration, because with the configuration only we can give this component scan, right? Component scan we can give, right? And also we have taken here @bean. So @bean is making any Java class as a Spring Bean definition, right? In order to make any Java class as a Spring Bean and to be detectable by the Spring Bean, to be detectable by the Spring application context to create it as a Spring Bean, we have to annotate it with the @bean, and @bean will be used with the configuration. This is what we have seen in our core sessions. Okay, however, now we were taken this configuration class. Similarly, what we will do, let us also take the dispatcher servlet configuration class. So let me go here for a time being. Again, I don't type anything for a time being. I'm just copying the content that I already have prepared in the handouts. So just let me copy this and then go here. Just let me paste it here. Okay. And if we can understand carefully, so dispatcher servlet initializer extends abstract annotation config dispatcher servlet initializer, and we have the methods called get root config, servlet config, and then the servlet mapping. So servlet config, we have to give the web application context config, and this web application context config, meaning when it will be given here, right? So at the time of the application starting, this web application context config will be read, and then the component scan will trigger and identify all the eligible candidates, and also read the @bean as also one of the eligible candidate. And these are all the eligible candidates will be created as a Spring Beans, and also web application context will be created. So this is the process will be happened during the bootstrapping of this dispatcher servlet initializer, right? When the application is starting in the container, when the application var file is extracting and then starting, right? At that moment, the servlets will be initialized first. At the time of the servlet initializations, right? This web application context config will also be called actually. Okay, we are done. Now we were created this. Hey, can you please be mute? Can you please be mute? Thanks. Okay. So now let us go and then run this application. So we have done everything. Controller we have run, and then the view pages we have created, and then the config.java we have created, dispatcher servlet we have created. So let us run the application. Of course, we need an external container. First we will do it. Let us do it as a var and then run it in an external container, or else if I have the Tomcat here, I also can run it on a server, right? So let me load the Tomcat, the Tomcat I have. So manually define a server. I think it is not coming. Just let me make it bigger. So go little here, Apache, and then scroll down to the Apache 9.x. So in my local, I downloaded Apache 9, I believe. Yes, Apache 9, Tomcat 9. So let me take this Tomcat 9 and then next, and then I have to browse where my Tomcat is. So let me go to D softwares, and here is my Tomcat. So let me give the Tomcat and let us click on next. And yes, our application is binded here. We Shopify ecom required and cannot be removed from the server. Okay, that is fine. Let it be. And Spring Web is a dependency, right? That were added. Okay, just finish it, and then we will see what will happen. So what you understand from this discussion? So number one, we have written the controller, we have written the server page, right? And then we have written this web configuration, and we have written the dispatcher servlet class. So these are all the things, meaning business logic class we have written, configuration classes also we have written. That is the understanding you need to do. So business logic, configuration, business logic, core logic. Our logic is what actually? Write the business implementation here. For example, login, write the login implementation here, and registration, write the registration code here. So we were done that coding, plus we also have done the configurations related classes. Of course, it's a one-time activity, but we have even done that. Okay, however, my IDE is refreshing the adapters to connect to the Tomcat and then to start the Tomcat. Yes, it is started, and let it be. Let it be. Okay, finally it is not started. Why? Because probably there is some exception got. So what is that exception? File not found exception. What is that file not found? Okay. So again, did you observe one of my other application might referring this I'm using the Tomcat, right? In this Tomcat, there were other applications as well. There were other applications as well. So one of the other application might requires this file, right? What is that might require this file? This RSA pum is required for that one. So that is not available, and hence it just thrown us some file not found exception. And however, the web application configured, but it is not really taken the request actually, right? So this is not the way it should be. It should be render the JSP page, because by default the request mapping we gave as /. Okay, on bootstrapping it should be. So service DAO, let us implement later. We are not started project implementation, or maybe the our Spring Boot. Our intention is to implement everything on the Spring Boot only. But for now, what we are doing, we are trying to understanding the effort that is involved in implementing a traditional Spring WebMVC application, and also the same application let us implement using Spring Boot. So there we will understand the effort needed. Okay, so let me change the Tomcat path. This Tomcat needs to be have all the other dependencies with it. So let me change the Tomcat path. So whatever the Tomcat I have here, so probably I can take it into the separate directory. So just copy it and let me take it into our separate directory. For example, projects and trainings. Yes, Spring Boot, MS Cloud. So here let me extract the Tomcat. This is a very plain Tomcat, meaning the Tomcat that were downloaded from the website, Tomcat official website, isn't it? So this Tomcat, let me refer now. What is happening actually, if I refer the already existing Tomcat, in that Tomcat, there were some other applications which are running. Those have some dependencies on some certificates and SSL and all. So that is the reason. Let me change it actually, right? So let us go and then change run as run configurations. So let us change our Tomcat location. So or else let us delete this and again let us look at it. Fine. Now right click on it and then run as run on server. Yes. Let us go next. Now this is, let us take one more new. This is not required to us.
Manually define new servers. There is option.
Let me check it. Yes, I will start the classes from this for this in Spring Core. I already have completed. Okay, however, I'll again come back where I can show you. Let me go here. Server, right? Server. Yes. Click on open, and the server is already attached. Let us delete this server, attached server, and create a new server. And of course, let me click on it, Tomcat 9, just next, and then Tomcat 9, I need to add the Tomcat, right? Yes. So let me change its location now to this one. One moment, let me change the Tomcat location to this location. Okay, so let us use this Tomcat rather than that one. Select folder. Yes, now our Tomcat is selected. click on finish. Now click on next and then add this application here, right? And then click on finish. Done. Now we were added the new Tomcat, meaning our Tomcat. Okay, so just let me again run as the run on server. Okay, next and then finish. Okay, at this moment we should have to see the application access, meaning application page without any issues. Let us wait for that and then let's see. Oh, okay, still the application page is not rendered. So let us go here and then see what happened actually. Okay, so see this, while the application is bootstrapping, what is happening from here? See this. First, initializing the Spring Framework Servlet dispatcher. And what this dispatcher is doing, dispatcher servlet init servlet being. So dispatcher servlet initialization is started. At the time of initialization, what it does, annotation config web application context prepare refresh, and then refreshing the web application context, right? And then this web application context loaded the beans using see web application context config, loaded the bean definitions, annotation config web application context, because we are using annotations. So web application context config have the annotations are the bean loading mechanisms, right? Component scanner at the red bean. So finally the load bean definitions, right? Annotation config web application context started loading bean definitions, and of course it done the registering the annotated class web application context config, it registered, and then what happened again, if you can see, when the beans were registered, right, our handler also got registered. Our handler is what? The controller, right? Whatever the controller, home controller we have written. So see this OS.Spring Framework, simple URL handler mapping, register handler, and URL path, everything that is registered onto the handler, default servlet request handler, and then we have the controller advice, web application context. Of course, a lot of other process happen, but if we can observe carefully, let us go and then see. It needs to be come to our controller. So let me type something in our controller class. So sysout, I am in controller. Sysout, I am in controller. Okay, so it needs to be come to here. Fine, let us, yeah, it automatically loaded. Yes, it automatically loaded. Whatever the changes we did, it automatically taken. Fine. So now let us go and then access the application. So what is the URL for accessing the application? So the URL for accessing the application is http://localhost:8080/ and then the context of the application is nothing but our application name. So the context is what we have to give, and then slash. So let's trigger it, and then we should have to see the log whatever we have written. Let's see. Yes, it didn't display anything, and also log didn't came here, isn't it? Log also didn't came here. Okay.
Do we
so
need to add annotation to that method? Yeah. Request mapping.
yeah, actually it should have to be come identify, but okay, let's also take in, meaning let us try to add it here. It should have to be detect. So what we will do, let us, yeah, so let us add it on top of it, and then let's see. Okay, so let us restart. Seems to be this change. Yeah, it is restarted. Fine. Now let us trigger it one more time. So go back here and then just trigger it one more time. Right. Now see, yes, it came to controller. I'm in controller. And then yes, we got the welcome to Shopify e-commerce retail platform. So this request mapping annotation, let me also update my handout. Of course, you just add it on top of the this method. That's fine. Now we got this. Welcome to Shopify e-commerce retail platform page. Right. So did you observe what we have done in order to make it up, in order to make the simple Spring Web MVC application up? What we have done? So we have written the controller, we have written the JSP, and we have also taken the dependencies like Spring Web dependency is what we have taken, right? So if you can go here, the Marvin dependencies. So Spring Web MVC is what the dependency is we have configured. So this is the dependency, right? So this dependency ourselves along with the version we have taken. Let me paint it. So this is the dependency. Ourselves being a developer, we ourselves are taken which version we have to go and then what version would work for us. So this is what we have taken. Right. Now let us implement the same application using the Spring Boot and we will see how easy we can do that. So let me create a Spring Boot project here. Of course, again, I will come back with the step-by-step, the ways to create the Spring Boot project and all, but let me just go ahead and then create it for a while. So we Shopify e-commerce boot application. And then the package is group is com.vshopify. And then artifact is the application name, that is fine. And then again, package is com.vshopify.ecom, right? Ecom is our application. Of course, let us select the var here, no matter, and Marvin Java 11 we are using. Again, I'll come back and then explain. See this, there is a window came for us. Carefully observe, please. Window came for us. I'll address all your questions, folks. Please let me concentrate. Previous classes recordings, I already have told actually before starting the today's session that, you know, by today, I'll provide the recording videos. But you guys were not joined in the Telegram. Most of you guys were not on the Telegram. Please join on the Telegram. If you will be joined on the Telegram, then what I will do is day to day, meaning immediately the recordings I will provide to you. Mean the time the recordings will be uploaded to your drive, you can go through the Zoom link to view the videos. There are two options. Uploading the video to your drive is one option, and then giving the Zoom link directly to you is another option. So we are doing both the options. So drive uploading will take little time. In the time, you can go with the Zoom link as well, but make sure you will connect in the Telegram link actually. Okay.
Telegram is not working, sir.
Yes, same for me, not working for me as well.
No, please don't open the Telegram in the web actually, in the sense your desktop or laptop. Open the Telegram in the mobile. Install the Telegram app in the mobile and then open it. It will work.
Can you please share the link in the chat?
No, actually here it is it is not our regular link, right? At this moment, I can't share this link with you, but I can do one thing. Okay, I can share it for you only actually, right? So I believe we are all okay. Now ping me, just say hi, then to you I will ping this Telegram group.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, fine. Let us go back and then now start creating our Spring Boot application. Please let me concentrate on the theory part. This let me concentrate on what I'm trying to achieve, because the other things definitely I will take care. Okay, fine. So now
Sir,
see here.
Prior to Spring Starter, can you just brief the flow of that annotated base Previously XML with configuration, we are configuring web.xml. In that web.xml, we are configuring dispatcher servlet. And after that means application when we start, then it's started from web.xml, then dispatcher servlet, and then we are configuring handler mapping in the Spring XML. This is flow. Can you just brief in annotated this project?
Sure. I will explain. I'll explain. Definitely, I'll explain that flow. But today and yesterday session meaning is what, understanding the difference in development effort from the traditional web application to Spring Boot. Once that is done, however, we're gonna start our web application, right? This is not our final, our project that we're gonna start up. So when we start this, I'll explain everything internals of this one, and then how we came from XML to annotation to Java configuration. So those migrations I will explain for sure. So, but this is the time to just understand the difference between the Spring Boot application development effort and then the traditional web application development effort. Okay, so let me choose the starter, Spring Web. Let me choose now. This is the starter. Carefully observe, we are using starter. So click on next and then click on finish. Observe, we were choose the starter. That is little underline. We were choose the starter, meaning the starters were already available in Spring Boot. From that starters, whatever the starter we want, we were just choosing them. Okay, so whatever the starters we want, we just were choosing those starters, right? That is the first observation point that we need to do. Okay, now the next thing is what? Let this Spring Boot application come back because it is getting starting, right? The same application, let us try to build and then let us see how much development effort is required. In that way, let us start understanding the Spring Boot. And of course, about the Spring Web MVC, again, I will explain. At the moment, we are developing our application, Spring Web MVC. From Spring Web MVC, I will come. Okay, so what is dispatcher servlet, and then how internally it will work, what are the handlers, how the handler mapping, right? All those things I'll come up, but just allow me a time to make you to understand the Spring Boot at this moment at least. Okay, so let me take one new file and let me write the differences here. In the time it will come back, meaning the application will start. Sorry, my machine is little slow. Yes. Okay, so one thing is what, when we are developing an application using Spring Boot, one thing is what, we chosen the already available starter, right? And we have not given any version, right? We have not given any version. We just have chosen, we have not given any version, right? Version we didn't bother about, just we have chosen whatever is available, right? So version is, we never bother about the version because there is no provision for giving us the version, right? Then what we can do, let us go and then, yeah, application is created. Still it is downloading the sources and then Java code, that's okay. So let's go here. Now let us create the package. Of course, package we already have created, and same to same. So same to same, what I will do is just copy it and then copy this. These are the two packages I'll copy onto this this one. So ecom config, ecom controller, that we have copied. And one more thing that I'll do is, again, we don't have the JSPs, right? So in the web app, let me copy the JSP. And here, if you can see, I don't copy this config one, meaning let me have only the controller, not config. In Spring Boot, I have not taken the configurations, only controller I have taken. Now here, let us do one thing. Let us create one folder that is for the JSPs as usual. That is for the JSPs as usual. So let me go here and then let me take this WebInf as usual. So go here in web app, WebInf. right? Right, as usual. And welcome.jsp. However, we don't have this JSTL. Of course, this is not required even. Just let me take it off. Fine. Now we have this one. Okay, so JSPs we have taken, controller we have taken, right? Where is the web service? Where we are creating web service? I didn't understand, folks, actually. Let me continue with what I'm trying to explaining. After that, I will address. This is too early for the questions, whatever you are asking. This is too early. Just give me a time till we start our application. Everything we will discuss. Right. So it is disturbing actually. While I'm going, you are typing, right? This is disturbing the session. I mean, whoever is attending, for them, they lose the concentration. Please allow me for completion of this and then you ask your questions. Okay, so fine. Just we have taken the controller and then just we have taken the JSP, but not the configuration, And there is some application that property file at this moment. Please don't worry about it, but just we'll type spring dot something. I'm just typing. So spring dot, what is this? We don't know, but I'm just typing. Okay, of course the computing it will come up. So what I'm typing, I'm just typing something, spring dot web, right? It will come. Spring dot, right? Let me type web, right? Spring dot web and spring dot web dot. We can see the spring dot web dot. You can see the path actually. Spring dot. Let me go and then see our handout. That path we should have to give. Just let me go and then give. Okay. However, let us give this JSP here. Spring dot. Let me just type for this one. Yes. Spring dot MVC dot view dot prefix. And similarly, spring dot MVC dot view dot suffix. Prefix is what? Slash web-inf slash, and suffix is what? Dot JSP, and of course prefix is what? Even use as well, and then slash, right? So I just have configured the web-inf views and then dot JSP, just have written the controller, just have written the JSP. Now let us start this Spring Boot application. So of course, let me also give the port number, server.port is equal to, let me give some 8081. Done. So now let us start it. So even we start it, it also should have to render the same application without any issues. It should have to render the same application. Then we will see the difference. What is the difference actually? What development effort we concentrated and what we eliminated from the traditional web application development. So let it start. Right. So it started. So it started on the port 8081. Let us go to the browser. And here, let us type localhost:8081 slash, that's it. Localhost:8081, yes, slash. Okay, one more thing also we need to add. These are the JSPs, right? So JSPs can't be rendered automatically because this Spring Boot is coming up with this default Tomcat. I'll explain about all these things, but in order to render the JSP, we requires the Spring Boot Tomcat Ember dependencies. Spring Boot Tomcat Ember embedded Jasper. Yes, this is the required embedded Jasper, Tomcat embedded Jasper. So this is the dependency required to us. Tomcat embedded Jasper. Why? Because whatever the Spring Boot is coming up with the Tomcat, right? So of course, we'll discuss this. So whatever the Spring Boot is coming up with the Tomcat, so that is only having the servlet container, but not the JSP container. So that is the reason we want to add the JSP container as we are now using the JSPs. Okay, so this is the extra effort or extra thing I'm doing, but this is also not required in fact, isn't it? What we can do is, let me choose any of the version. So let me choose the 9th version. Of course, any of the version I can choose, no matter. So let us go here and then add this one. And let me save it. Okay, so this dependency, of course, version is not required. It will auto manage. Okay, so just concentrate what we are doing now. So in the traditional web application, we have written the dispatcher servlet configuration. We have written the app configuration. But in the Spring Boot application, even we have taken the dependency, right? We have taken the dependency with the version, what version we should have to use. So that dependency we have taken. But in the Spring Boot application, we have taken only the controller, only the JSP, and starter we have chosen, but without version. That's it. These three things only we were done. And in our traditional web application, explicit Tomcat container we were chosen. And in that explicit Tomcat container, we deployed our application. That means in traditional web application, to deploy the application, an explicit Tomcat container or a explicit container is required. Explicit servlet container, JSP container is required, meaning application server is required. But Spring Boot applications don't require an explicit Tomcat container or explicit servlet container, because it is by default giving as part of the Spring Boot. Okay, now see, this Spring Boot is automatically coming up with the Tomcat. Of course, there were 2 other servers also with the Spring Boot. We will discuss about those 2 other servers coming up sessions. But at this moment, we only have the Tomcat container series. Now the same application came here. So what we have done, what is the changes you have observed, what we have done? So in Spring Boot application to our traditional web application, what changes we have done? So this is the, let me copy here. So this is the Spring Boot application. There is no explicit container we have taken, right? And then controller, service, DAO, and session, this data, everything is as is. Everything is as is here, right? But we have not written this dispatcher servlet. Of course, dispatcher servlet is required to be here, but we have not written that. Who written that? Automatically Spring Boot configures it. How Spring Boot configures it? Because we were chosen a starter called Spring-WebMVC. So we were chosen a starter called Spring-WebMVC. So here that Spring-WebMVC starter, whatever we have chosen, that based on that starter, carefully observe, please carefully observe. Dispatcher servlet here we were not taken, and annotation configuration, meaning the Java configurations, Hibernate configuration class we were not taken here. But though we were not taken, from here to here, the difference is that only, right? Here we have, being a developer, we have taken this one, we have written this one. But here, being a developer, we have not written. Of course, those were auto configured. How they were auto configured is again different story, we will understand. But if we can understand entire this flow, we just were added this WebMVC. When we added this WebMVC, Spring Boot formed its own opinion, and then Spring Boot by default given the WebMVC infrastructure, WebMVC environment it is given. That means it understood when we have chosen just one starter, Spring-WebMVC, then Spring Boot intelligently understand this is for developing a web application. So I need to come up with an embedded Tomcat. So it just added the embedded Tomcat, and also it added the default configuration as the dispatcher servlet, and also it added the Java configurations kind. So it's a kind of loading, like how we were loading this Java configuration, mean how we are giving the Java configurations to identify the Spring Beans in our application, right? Similarly, the Spring Boot is also coming up with one configuration class, that is the application.java file. So if you can understand carefully, based on the single starter, Spring Boot understood itself, and then Spring Boot confirmed itself that it is a WebMVC application. So I need to give the Tomcat, and also it is a WebMVC application. So I need to set up this Spring dispatcher servlet, and I need to set up this Java configurations to load the Java classes as a Spring Beans. So, and then readily it given us. Being a developer, we just focused on our controller logic, and then this JSP, of course, view pages implementation. Rest all it is taken by the Spring Boot. Now, do understand one thing? When we added this starter Spring WebMVC, it itself framed its opinion. Spring Boot itself framed its opinion. That is the reason Spring Boot is said to be an opinionated framework. And using Spring Boot, we will develop the opinionated uh, Spring Boot is an opinionated framework. Using this Spring Boot opinions, we will follow the development actually. So if you follow the opinion of the Spring Boot, the development becomes very easy. If you don't follow the opinion of the Spring Boot, then being a developer, we need to put some efforts. What is that means? If we chosen the Spring WebMVC starter, then we have given the leverage to our Spring Boot application to decide its own that it has a Spring WebMVC, so that the Spring Boot application framed its own opinion. It is a WebMVC, so I have to give the Tomcat, I have to give the dispatcher servlet, I have to give the configuration class. All the things it has been readily available. It made us readily available. The only thing is the developer is concentrating on writing this controller logic or service logic, mean the business logic. The developer is only responsible to configure, concentrate on the business logic. So using Spring Boot, the configuration part has been removed. Configuration burden has been eliminated from the developer, and now the developer will only can focus on the business logic implementation. So the rest of the infrastructure is given by the Spring Boot itself only. Unlike here, we have to go to external Tomcat and choose the Tomcat version, whether 9 fits for me or 8 fits for me or 10 fits for me. So we have to choose the Tomcat version. And then again, while doing this coding, we have to choose the dependency along with its versions. Do I need to go with the 4.3.18 or 4.3.19 or 5.1.0? So these are the versions we have to take. And then again, we have to concentrate on these configurations, and then concentrate on these servlet mappings. Everything is what we have taken being a developer in the traditional web application. But whatever we have done about this configuration, this entire thing has been taken by the Spring Boot itself. And then we are free to concentrate on only the business logic, but not on the configurations logic. So that is the beauty of the Spring Boot. And based on the opinion, that based on the option that it is are giving to it, based on the option we were chosen, Spring Boot itself frame its own opinion. We were chosen the MVC, so it frames its own opinion that I have to configure the Spring MVC application. So that is how the Spring Boot is said to be an opinionated framework. So the applications development opinionated approach of developing the web application. Sorry, folks, it's my bad. It's my bad. Okay, again, I lost the screen share option as it got disconnected. But okay, so I think you got now the concept of the Spring Boot, right? What is Spring Boot and how it is making the developer life easy to only focus on the business logic implementation rather on the configuration management also, right? Then how it is making the developer to concentrate only on the development activities or the business logic implementation, how the Spring Boot is automatically giving the configurations to us, how it is framing its opinion, what is auto configuration, all these things let us discuss in coming up sessions. So that's all for today. Do you have any questions for me? You can ask now.
Sir, can you
Yes.
please share that Telegram link? I have pinged you.
Okay, right away I will share the Telegram link just in a moment. Right
Yeah,
away
please.
I will do that. So whoever required, of course, this is not for other candidates who are joined for just demos.
I installed the Telegram, but it's not, the link is not working for us.
I was added actually. Most of the
It is
members were
working,
added.
sir. It is working.
It is working. Yes, I was added. Personally, I was added there.
First time you can click it, then it will redirect to the Telegram app. And then again you can click second time. Then it will allow you to join in the Telegram group.
Correct. So just try that. Huh? Just try that.
So when will the demo end, and what is the end date of the entire
Started.
course?
Okay. These are the actually, of course, for other candidates, maybe this is the demos, but for the candidates who are being attending, that is not the demo. We are started our content. So till Saturday, this open link will be there. And from the Monday onwards, the open link will be closed. And the duration of the sessions are the 90 days. So already we were completed. Of course, for you guys, you just assume the 90 days from the Monday onwards, meaning the
Okay.
folks who are attending from outside, right? From Monday onwards, consider 90 days, not demos. Demos are not part of the session or course duration.
Ah,
Okay.
On
Okay.
holiday.
Anything else?
Tomorrow is any holiday?
What is tomorrow? I don't.
Tomorrow is Good Friday, no?
I don't have an update from the institute, but I will check and then update you. If such a thing will be there, then an email will come to you.
The Telegram also can you please upload the
Yes,
link,
yes.
sir.
Yes,
And
Telegram
one more
is-
request, 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th dates are not found class. Class
Sure,
notes is
sure.
not found.
Sure. I will upload the class notes and also videos will be uploaded. I understood from the Monday and to till now, the videos were not uploaded. That I know. Let me make them to upload actually. I mean, let me talk to back. Okay, so please upload interview questions. Yes, Suresh, interview questions also I will upload. I already have the interview questions with me, but I need to convert into somehow some text document, or I'll upload because you know what I thought is to have it as a text document, this interview questions, so that we will add the questions. You guys also can edit it and then add the questions while you are attending the interviews later on time. So let me convert into a text and then meaning PDF and then Word document and then upload it. Okay.
Sir, I need a Spring Core material.
Spring Core material. Yes, I will upload. I mean, keep on. I'm telling I will upload. I will upload. But for sure I will upload. Not only
And
Spring.
softwares also. And in software, what softwares I want to install it, then you go be uploaded.
Yeah. So now we started what is Spring Boot, right? Now we got a little idea about what is Spring Boot. Then tomorrow onwards, in order to work with the Spring Boot, what are the softwares required? Those are all the things we will discuss. And then the installation document I will provide. And then the installed softwares also I will provide in our classroom. These are all the three things.
Sir, my question is how to connect the Oracle and SQL database connecting in the Spring Boot. That's my question in NBC.
Correct. You mean those are the databases, how we can connect it to the database from our Spring Boot application, correct? That is your question.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So for that, the Spring Boot application have a data source configuration where we can do the data source configuration. For example, here application.properties. So first we have to take a JPS starter. Then when we take the JPS starter, we will get the spring.data source property available. So using this data source, we can attach the databases, but only one database can be attached at only one time. If you want to attach multiple databases at a time, then we also need to prefix it with some key just to identify. For example, spring.org and other database is spring.mssql.data source. Like that, we can give the property so that it will detect the separate data sources. For one is MSSQL, second one is the Oracle. Got it?
That URL should give from in the controller part, sir.
Not URL, database URL will not give from the controller. We will give here data source URL will give itself here. So data source start URL, right? So here we will give, for example, Jdbc : right? Maybe.
Sorry, so I think you're trying to share your screen, right? But we couldn't see your screen.
Yeah. My screen is, I don't have the option to share the screen because it disconnected right in the middle.
Yeah, I think you are not the host. That's the reason. I see someone from our Swaraj has a host. So if you can give the host access, right? I think you can share your screen.
Yeah. So the answer for your question is yes. The database URL solved, we have to give in our. Okay, let me share my screen. I think if Swaraj given me an access. Otherwise, I will address your question tomorrow. Don't mind. Huh?
Sir, here one problem is there, sir. I'm unable to access this Google Classroom where you are uploading all your material and everything.
Just ping me your email ID. Right away, I will give the access so that we can resolve it.
So, where I have to give, sir? Here only in the chat box?
Here only in the chat. Just give me.
Okay, sir. Fine.
Give me. I will upload right away. I'll add right away.
Sir, I have a couple of questions. So, did we got any assignment on a Spring Core? Did we did anything? Because I missed a couple of sessions.
Yes. Just go to the Spring Core concepts only, and in the Spring Core concepts, just go through the concepts till annotation based configuration. That is good enough actually. Going forward, we'll have a lot of work, so we will do that lot of work. But
I want to give a couple of pointers from my end. So we are discussing, but we are not practicing it. So we are done with about 25 sessions till now. So can we plan further to do a practice kind of assignments as such?
Sure. I will plan for it. I'll prepare one assignment in the Spring Core. 2 assignments I'll prepare in Spring Core, and of course, while happening the Spring Boot, definitely we will do the application, right? Day-to-day work will be there, but at least till the Spring Core, I will prepare the assignment handout.
Yeah, and the same way we are keep on asking that share the source code. So can you please do that today?
Yes. So actually, the source code for Spring Core is already uploaded.
As GitLab, I see it was uploaded 3 years ago.
Exactly. Spring Core, when we completed the Spring Core, right? So the Spring Core source code completely we uploaded, and Spring Boot is which started, right? So this we will upload while the session is going.
You mean that Spring Core is already uploaded in GitLab?
Exactly, GitLab, yeah.
I don't see that. Maybe I'm missing something because I see it was uploaded 3 years ago.
No, not 3 years actually. Or do one thing. Go to our classwork. Go to our classroom. There you can see the source code repository link.
I opened the same thing actually.
vshopify.git is there, right?
Yeah, so there only I was there. So I see 3 years ago.
That is not. In the branches, you can see Spring Core branch is there. By default, a master branch is there, but you can see in the Spring Core branch.
Yeah, it's sorting. Yes, got it.
Yes, correct.
Thanks.
Yeah. Sir, actually, today only I have joined the class. So can you please send me Telegram link, please?
Oh, yes, definitely I can share. So I joined in the sense probably you might register as well, correct? If I'm not wrong. Yes. I will share it right away. I will
actually, I'm unable to send you the message individually. So
okay,
this is
fine.
Monica actually.
That's okay. Let me keep that.
And you will you cover Spring Core also?
Spring Core is not covered as part of this one. That's what I told, right? Actually, Spring Core If you want to attend the Spring Core, you can attend from the 18th or 22 onwards. I'm starting one more batch at the 8:30. So if you want the Spring Core, you can come there actually, or else just for the Spring Core sessions, come there and then attend the Spring Boot here. You can as per your convenience, you can plan. But Spring Core is not part of this class actually.
Okay, I mean, not this class, but this course, right? After this demo completed, you will start the real lessons, right?
No, yeah, correct. But Spring Core, I don't start again. What is Spring Core and Spring Core components and all? I don't start. I directly start the Spring Boot itself. But of course, Spring Web MVC, I will start. I will first explain the Web MVC on the Spring Boot because we're going to develop the project using the Spring Web MVC first.
Okay, just send me the, link so that I can check what are the classes you have already completed.
Right. So just let me give you the both the links I will give you. One is the classroom link and then second. Okay, rather giving the classroom link to you, just give me your email ID. I will add you to the classroom. Second is Telegram group link I can give you right away. So, but adding to this class, again, give me your email. I will add you to the class.
One question. All these demo classes are again that regular link will be initiated, means the link which we used to join earlier, we'll join with that link only.
That link only. I already conveyed this, right? Only for this Monday to Saturday, we are on this new link. Okay, and again, from the Monday onwards, we'll go back to earlier link only. And that link never change, same link. And that link never changes until the Spring Boot completed.
But sir, in that link, it was mentioned that that link is valid till 30th of April.
30th of April?
Yeah,
I'll check.
The mail which we received, it was till 30th of April.
And that's okay. That will be like that only, but it will work because it's the Zoom side. We can just extend the dates.
Okay, so means from Monday onwards, we'll join with that earlier link one.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, folks. I am going to
one question, Narsi.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah. So like as you said, the Spring Boot opinionated framework, right? So when we are configuring this opinionated framework, when we say Web MVC, automatically everything will be the supporting jar files, dependent jar files are coming up. Yeah, that's true. But you know, there's servlets and filters and all. If you want to do it, the dispatcher servlet is going to redirect it's going to identify our controller class and we are getting the response back, right? Correct. Suppose if we want to customize that, only if you want to customize anything regarding that, again again we have to configure something, right?
Correct. Again, we have to configure something, but it is not a big configuration. So only the configurations or customizations required to our business according to our business functionality, isn't it? For example, let us say I would like to implement some Kafka mechanism or some email triggering mechanism. So usually in order to do a API development or a web application development, whatever the defaults required that are already given by the Spring Boot. So let us assume I don't want a certain jars which are by default loading by the Spring Boot. Yes, we can eliminate them, exclude them. Or I don't want certain auto configurations which are unnecessarily making my application as burden. Yes, we can exclude them. We can customize it basically.
Okay.
Sir, one question. Yeah, you kept that request mapping at class level. That time it didn't work, right? When you place that at method level, it is working. Why it is not working at class level?
Yeah, actually at the class level also it should have to work. But what is happening, the context path is ending with the slash, right? That is just identifying our controller, but not our controller methods. Again, to float back the flow to our controllers, again, we need to have the request mapping on our controller. So this is with the only WebMVC applications. But if it is an API, then it will be identified. So what I mean to say is basically first the controller handler is identified with the context path ending with the slash, but not the handler methods. Handler only identified, but not the handler methods. In order to make the handler methods to identify, again, the request mapping needs to be designated on the handler methods in Spring Web MVC. So in Spring Web MVC, each and every handler method need to be designated with some request mapping. That is the funda. Got it? Huh?
Okay, sir. Got it.
Yeah. Okay, folks. I am stopping now. Sorry, I'll spend a full-fledged sessions, meaning 8:30 or something like that. I'll spend from the next week onwards. Huh? This week I will be little rush, so I'll spend a good amount of time from the next week onwards with you. Thank you so much.